Welcome back to the Creative Economy. This is our weekly news show on everything happening in the creator economy. We cover the latest news, provide commentary, and we have some great interviews and guests. And of course, we will deep dive onto topics that are interesting and relevant to creators everywhere, as well as startups and founders and investors building for the creator economy. We do go live on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. We try to be here as regularly as possible, but sometimes we have a life and we have to go outside. But in case you want more, you can find out more over at created.show. It's the official show page for the show. It provides links to all our upcoming episodes. Feel free to ask us questions, post ideas for topics that we might want to have. We also live stream simultaneously. So if you're hearing us right now, or if you're watching in the future and want to join back later, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Clubhouse, and Twitter Spaces all at the same time. We will have our after show, Create After Dark, in about an hour. That will be running Created. We'll share a link to it later on. We also do post longer form content, though. So if you want to find a transcript or show notes or want to link to something, head over to createdeconomy.com. That's the official site for all of our content. Thank you, everybody. I see you joining here in Clubhouse. I know it's a little awkward, but we will give you a chance to raise your hand. So just to play along. First 10 minutes or so, we will do the news. After that, we'll give you all a chance to chime in. And then we're going to have our interview with Matt from FamePick. And then after that, you'll have a chance to ask Matt questions as well. So stick around. There's a lot of audience participation throughout the day. So excited to have you going. Ken, how are you doing, my friend? Oh, I forgot to share.
I'm doing well. Doing well. Thanks for coming back for another show, episode 7. So this should be a great one. I mean, we've talked about podcasting. We talked about SMS. We've talked about NFTs. If we're talking about the creator economy and creators and influencers, why not talk about how to manage all of it, manage your relationships with brands and potential sponsors, opportunities, and how to really, take, to elevate it to an actual business. I mean, if we've been talking about, in past weeks about how companies are, or about how influencers and creators are struggling to make ends meet and make a living off of producing content. So why not have somebody on the show who can help us figure that out? And I'm looking forward to having Matt from FamePick tell us more about it.
Awesome. Well, it's going to be fun. But before we do that, we need to dive into the news. We've got a lot of news this week, so we're going to go fast. All right, I promise. By the way, in case you are listening and not watching the stream, you can follow along by following us on Twitter at Created Economy. Ken live tweets out all the links that we actually share. And we also do have a Flipboard where all the links that we've looked at or considered for the week are available. So we'll see you over there if you want to get those links in real time. I forgot I had a slide for that. So yeah, follow us on. All right, let's get. We had a week off or something. No, we didn't. All right.
Are you okay? Who put something special in your tea today? I mean,
so on to the news. Ken, I think you're up first.
Exactly. All right. So why don't we move on to the next slide here, Greg? There you go. All right. So TikTok is kind of everywhere these days. So this time around, there's been reports that they are producing a version to take on Cameo. Now, for those that are not really familiar with Cameo, it's this way where creators can get paid to do shout outs, to send out messages to people. And actually, it's turned out to be doing pretty well for Cameo. So TikTok's like, look, hold my beer. We're going to do it ourselves. And ironically, it's going to be called shoutouts. And so this would be a fun way for creators to do that. TikTok has this great audience and a lot of creators on there. So why not help them further monetize this? So it would be really interesting to see how this works out. Actually, a long time ago, one of my bosses sent me a Cameo shout out from Omarosa on landing on buying my first house. So that was pretty interesting and surprising to say the least. So I'll be very now. Will these shout outs from TikTok, will you wind up getting dance tutorials? We have a little bit more flair to them and whatnot. So who knows when shout outs will come out, but looking forward to seeing what people will do. And Greg, how much would you charge for a shout out on TikTok?
Is there such a thing as negative dollars? because that's probably good.
So I gotta pay you to give me a shout out. Is that what you're saying?
Sounds right.
Okay, all
right. This is a new. Thank you for that, Ken. I am excited to see, and I think TikTokers do need more monetization methods, so it's good to see them happening. We are going to be featuring more community posts as well. I probably should have put this later because there's a lot in here, but I'm going to go through these really fast. Because there's some great articles and thought leadership posts that come out from the community. A lot of these come from the Means of Creation Discord, also from stuff we follow on Twitter, and also the Passion Economy pals as well. So if you are interested in any of these articles, we will provide links to them afterwards. Legion and Nathan Bashez and Yash Bagal had a post over last week. I think it was last week, called The Creator MBA. Really drives into sort of a lot of the economics and sort of the evolving businesses and the opportunities in the creator economy as creators move from sort of being hobbyists into careerists and ultimately into entrepreneurs. So I would give that a read if you get a chance. There was another great post by Yang from the Means of Creation Discord on why the creator economy won't replace the attention economy. So I think, what I really liked about it, he has a graphic where he actually tried to visualize and add another layer of dimension into the monetization methods. So I highly recommend giving that article a read. He talks about some interesting ideas about sort of like why attention is still king. And I think it makes some great points, especially, just this idea that there's still a finite amount of attention. So it doesn't matter if we're creating more, you still have to garner the attention to be successful ultimately. Nacho Giorgi, I forgot, I'm probably messing up his name, but he did have a post or an interesting article about sort of the idea of creator run accelerators, because we're seeing more and more creators sort of making this transition over to starting to become angel investors. I think Legion is actually running a program where she's teaching creators how to be angels. So these creator run accelerators, he sort of posits sort of this idea, sort of riffing on this idea that the Barstool founders, where they sort of launched sort of an accelerator of sorts. And so another good read from that space. And the last one that I'll bring up, and also one I think like Matt and I will probably have lots to riff on later, is there's how can creators work together and split revenue? This actually came from Anna in the Means of Creation Discord, but it's a video along with some commentary and posts as well. So we'll provide all those links as well for you if you're following on the video or on Twitter. But lots of great content. If you have an article out there that you're writing or a thought leadership piece that you're putting together, we'd love to help promote it. So send it to us and we'll give you a chance, try to get it featured in the show in a future episode. So Ken, you're up next.
All right. So along those lines of talking to Matt, I mean, good Lord, I think basically the next 30 minutes are going to be like just filled with Matt chiming in on what's going on with the news here. So a recent Supreme Court ruling. Now this might not seem like what creator news, but actually it is, because a Supreme Court ruling has mandated that the NCAA can't prohibit college athletes from monetizing their likeness. So the NCAA is like, oh, fine, we passed this rule that athletes can make money off of their name, their image, their likeness, and immediately days later, a bunch of athletes are starting out and they're going to basically create their own business, and that involves going on sites like Cameo, going and making money off of them, going into things like sponsorships with like EA and other brands and look, they're becoming influencers in their own right in a now legal fashion. Now remember, in college they were like, look, you can't actually make money off of it. We can give you scholarships.
How many are there, Ken? Was it 100,000 or something?
Influencers or athletes, you mean?
No, athletes. Wasn't it like a massive number?
Well, I mean, this is for any athlete, right? So obviously those that are going to that are featured prominently in games like an EA, any of the EA games, anything that, whether they win like the national championship or anything like that, they can actually make bank off of this. And especially with those that have been stripped from the Heisman Trophy, such as Reggie Bush, and colleges that have been penalized because of some of their athletes getting compensated when this rule was in place to prohibit them from actually making money. All of that's fallen by the wayside, and now this is a brand new world for athletes. So we'll see what's going on, and very interesting to see how this opens up an opportunity for Matt and FamePick and others in the space. And now onto this next one. Speaking of monetization, we're talking about startups here that are in the creator space, and Pietra here is just raised $15 million, and their whole, I guess their strategy, their objective is to help creators make money, actually produce tangible products based on that are their lineup. So it's almost like Oprah saying, "Oh, I'm just going to lend my name for whatever for this product," or Krusty the Clown lending his likeness to Krusty Burger or whatever. I mean, this is kind of what you're seeing now. Krusty the Clown's
not a real person, right?
No, he's not. Shut up. I mean,
what I found interesting about this article was that weren't these guys like a jewelry store or something online? I think Matt and I were joking about this somewhere.
They probably were, but I mean, you look at it. I mean, the trend though. I mean, a few weeks ago we were talking about how YouTube was toying around with maybe allowing forming some sort of a merchandising line for creators, right? I mean, so not only are these, it's like these are just additional ways for creators to monetize their work. I know, like you can basically take a shot every time I'm saying the word monetize, but that's basically the name of the game. It's like it's not just a digital content anymore; it's going to be physical and offline to kind of really help to bridge that gap and help with that brand recognition. And now with the next one here, you're talking about this. There's a report from CB Insights, which does phenomenal reports all the time. But this one caught my eye because it kind of raises a point in my mind about, like, you look at things like Clubhouse, you look at things like Substack and everything like that, and you're like, oh, this is great. It's good opportunities for creators to set off and basically own their own property, so to speak. But what's actually stopping Facebook, Google /YouTube, Twitter, Snap, and all these other companies from coming in and doing the same thing and taking over, right? Earlier on, we're talking about how TikTok's going to be doing is looking at a Cameo-like feature. So what is it about Cameo that is defensible? Like, what is it about, what we're talking about with last week with subtext? What is defensible about that? What is defensible about whatever, a bunch of the other startups that are out there that we talk about? And it's you look at this chart here, and there's a lot of incentive for these big tech companies to pay attention, because if you look at the pandemic, and this is where a lot of the usage and a lot of creators are, there's been a lot of uptick in TikTok and Reddit and Pinterest, well beyond what you'd see in growth and what you see with Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. And earlier on, we were talking about how Facebook properties kind of really were the thing for brands to reach their users. What's happening now? So it'd be very fascinating to see what happens next in terms of that.
Yeah, and I think you're right, though. There is low defensibility. There are some attributes I think that are interesting, but maybe all these companies are designed for acquisition to begin with, I guess. Information has a good article, by the way, called says the rise of influencer-led courses: how one YouTuber makes $25,000 a month. I think what this really was pointing out, I think Kaya was tweeted about this, but just that there was so like the largest amount raised by a creator, quote unquote creator company, was actually Kajabi raised like $550 million or something last year. And courses are an interesting thing, and it's a concept I'd love to also talk about with Matt, because we've been sort of having this discussion, slow going discussion. That these are the kinds of things that usually lead to like some kind of tweet thread, but this idea of like a bottoms up sort of creator, and like someone working with the notion that their goal or destination is actually a course as opposed to necessarily like a very large audience. Whereas I think traditionally or historically, we've seen like creator businesses oriented around generating very large audiences. But now maybe people are setting their aspirations in a different place. But course making is certainly an interesting thing. And I'm a strong believer in the idea that everyone has there are many different ways to teach things. And so there are infinite number of teachers in the world. One other article, last week, Carrot announced that they raised $26 million in their Series A. They are building a banking platform as well. I think I've mentioned this in the past, full disclosure. I run product at a company called Creator Cash, which is also a banking platform we launched about a month ago. So we actually issue bank accounts today. future. But I think this space is very interesting, and folks are still working there and doing their best to try to differentiate and see how can we make a bank for creators. So I would keep watching this for sure. Thank you. That was our news segment. By the way, if you want to catch any of this news, you can head over to our Flipboard, where Ken is fervently sort of storing away every article that we look at. We do examine thousands of pieces, it feels like, in between. Like we start like almost the minute this show is over looking for new things. But there's a lot of new stuff out there. So head over to flipboard.com/@createeconomy if you want to check that out. So we're about to dive into the interview. And so let's get Matt in here. We've got our friend Matt Zuvella from FamePick. But Matt, before we do your intro, let's just chat. Any reaction to any of the news articles or any of your thoughts there?
Yeah, that was one heck of a week of news. Yeah. I would say quite a few reactions. I mean, where do you guys want to start?
Pick your favorite.
I think the TikTok, copying Cameo is, I would say, the most interesting to me. Because, we've seen social media platforms copy everybody left and right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the most famous one, I think, is Facebook, Instagram copying Snap with the stories. But I think this is the first time I would say a major platform has copied like a unique monetization tool. Like everyone's copied, tipping of some kind. But copying, I don't think Cameo is a startup anymore. But that one's the most interesting to me because Facebook, Instagram always feels like they take a long time to copy products. They beta test forever. They announce it forever.
Didn't it used to feel like that, but now not so much, maybe?
I think Twitter is trying to change that, right? Twitter's moved very quickly with a lot of their latest product moves.
Yeah, I mean, but look, Facebook came out or basically has an audio app already. I mean, they have like a newsletter tool, right? Like they have all these pieces. And I remember hearing about the Facebook influencer or Instagram influencer program probably like 7 years ago, and I still never really fully saw it launch, right?
Yeah.
So I don't
Twitter,
know.
I think, is leading the way. Maybe
Twitter's definitely
change.
Testing the market out there. By the way, if you're listening out there in Clubhouse or on Twitter Spaces, feel free to raise your hand if you have a comment or thought on one of the stories that we shared. We will give you another chance at the end of the show as well to come and ask Matt questions. But while we do that, Matt, why don't you give us a quick moment and tell us a little bit about who you are and, what you do and what makes you special?
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you guys, Greg, Ken, having me on the show. Appreciate it. Love the show. I love the style and the format too a lot. I've always been a huge fan of more, interaction with fans and getting to, that was always my number one comment on Clubhouse is I want to interact with everybody. So appreciate you having me on. Yeah, I mean, quick background on myself. I've been in the creator space, I would say, for 6-7 years now. Got my start in actually mobile gaming. Used to make mobile games with celebrities. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the whole influencer marketing endorsement area. My claim to fame was we did a really terrible game with Tyga, the rapper. It was like an endless runner. It was awful, like a straight clone of like what was the Temple Run game?
Yeah.
But he was running through the streets. It was really bad with Tyga.
You should relaunch that for VR now. I'm sure that'll go over.
I wonder if it's still out. I doubt it. But, he had, I don't know how many millions he had. I mean, we're talking, this is like 2014 probably. And anytime he would tweet, because we'd launch events in the game, anytime he would tweet, it would get like 7, 10, 50,000 downloads. It just depended on what, the time of day he was tweeting. And we were like, holy smokes, right? That's, if you're a performance marketer, we were paying $4 to $6, $7 a game. So you're like, this is worth thousands of dollars. And I think that was kind of the first, wow, these guys, influencers have power if you use it the right way. So that was kind of like the aha moment, at least in my career of, hey, I want to really do this because I think celebrities and now I think we've seen creators, the Mr. Beast and the Jake Pauls become celebrities in their own right. I think everyone's seen the power that they have when they make one tweet or one post or one video.
Yeah. Now, and tell us so what is FamePick and tell us what you're doing now?
Yeah, so we originally launched it as like a celebrity endorsement network, very similar to like an Aspire IQ or a Creator IQ, right? We wanted to allow brands to, partner with these celebrities and run campaigns, and that kind of morphed. Like FamePick was able to raise money on that, but we learned very quickly like we didn't want to service the brand side; we wanted to service the creator side. And the celebrities weren't really the type because they were making so much money as it was through movies or TVs. We didn't, they'd probably been serviced enough. So we kind of pivoted into what FamePick is now. And that's a creator platform and agency kind of hybrid. It's like an agency built on tech, which a lot of agencies, if you guys have ever worked with one, there's no tech at an agency. They're still sending faxes and emailing over rates and so yeah, today we have a platform that helps creators monetize themselves, not with essentially tools, which a lot of people have gone after, but in more of the traditional endorsement way, right? Partnering with brands, partnering with companies, partnering with local companies to run some type of sponsorship stuff, so they can kind of be their own agent in a way. And then those that don't want to be their own agent, which a lot of them don't. We are an agency ourselves, so we represent people on the social media side and help them with brand deals and boxing events. And now the sky's the limit, right? Like, what's the next event?
Do you have like multiple revenue models then? Like, so like, is that like a separate function when you take on a creator, like as their agent, and is that exclusive or is that kind of ad hoc and it just sort of like as things come in, you can try to funnel things?
So we built it like we tried to do it full circle. Like the platforms used to kind of draw people in. Like we have a link in bio tool, we have a media kit tool, we have some type of Cameo tool as well. And so creators will come in organically and sign up, and ones that kind of some will reach out, some my sales team, my talent team will reach out, and then we ask, we're like, hey, we see you do X, Y, Z. Do you have any type of representation? And then we kind of make our pitch, right?
Yeah.
And for a lot of guys, it's simply they don't want to do the negotiating part with brands and partners. It's like, to be honest, it's kind of ugly at times. Right? It's a lot of contract work. It's a lot of you got to read through legal jargon. You got to make sure you're not signing your life away. So that's kind of how it is built. Like, so we monetize in the traditional agency fee way. We also have a platform where you can upgrade to get different features, as you would see in a lot of other social platforms. But the main way we want to help creators in the future is through the agency. And that's why we built the platform. Like one of our talent managers can manage close to 100 talent.
Okay.
Which in like a traditional sense, outside of maybe CAA, like that's really hard to do. A traditional manager maybe manages 10 to 15 talent.
And that raises a good thing you brought up CAA, because that's, as you were talking, it almost made it seem like, are you creating the CAA for the creator economy now? And obviously there's a bunch of in Los Angeles and Hollywood and entertainment space, there's obviously a lot of agencies, talent agencies in the traditional sense, but you don't necessarily see a whole lot that are geared specifically for creators. I think the early creators that want to be represented are probably going to the traditional agencies, traditional talent agencies. So what is it that you're doing? I know you're talking about that you're a hybrid between of an agency and with the foundation of tech. You give the creators all these tools, but what is it that's separating you from everybody else? And can you kind of elaborate what you mean when you say like a redefined influencer marketing? Like what is that? What is your approach to that?
Yeah, great question, Ken. So traditionally, like a CAA type of agency or WME or UTA, they're all usually built on like old school media, right? Usually TV. Now, obviously, some have morphed into this industry because that's where they see the money going. So a lot of that is like old school, I would say, endorsements, like a guest appearance, a TV show appearance, and obviously a lot of CAA's job is like, if you're a sports agent, you got to negotiate their main contract with whatever professional league they're in. Or if you're a movie star, you're negotiating for the next, acting job, right? So I wouldn't say, I mean, there are, I'm not going to say there's not, but there's not many that are geared towards creators, usually because the industry's not that old.
Yeah.
And, not many, I would say, big creators have understood how to make consistent money, right? I think that's, as you guys covered in the news section, is what everyone's trying to help creators do now. Right? Creators can maybe make a couple $100, but.
And Matt, maybe part of why that's been though is there's been a lot of money. I mean, I think the industry's only estimated like 15 billion or something, right? Like in influencer marketing. But a lot of that's top loaded, right? Like, very, very small number of people actually earn a significant amount of it. Have you seen, what's the trend line been, I guess, relative to like when someone's viable, right? For some of these opportunities, right? Because, in the past, I remember I was mentioning earlier, there used to always be this race to the top, like get as big as possible. And I think like most people would like to have larger audiences, right? But is there a new normal like starting point? Like, can someone monetize with like 100 users or 100 followers?
I won't put a number on it. Like internally,
I guess a range. Like, is it?
Yeah,
I guess
it depends
like,
on platform too, right?
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, and any pointers in that arena? And by the way, not to say that you shouldn't or couldn't, right? It's just more like what's normative, I guess.
I mean, we have one of the users on our platform monetizes with 5,000 fans on Instagram.
Wow.
She does an incredible job. I mean, she makes more money than some guys with 1 million fans just because, she's kind of very niche in her product and she kind of knows how to sell, so to speak.
Yeah.
Versus, maybe just a pure like content creator. But I would say like as a general rule of thumb, if you really want to make a living as a creator, I would say it's around 100,000 fans on a normal, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok platform. Now, if you start to get into the, OnlyFans of the world or course building of the world, that's a lot different, right? That's, you just need a couple hundred paying to make that work.
Yeah. And are the dollars increasing like from where you guys see things, or is it sort of like people are doing more things with more people so that like the actual dollars are smaller, like average contract value kind of thing?
The overall value has gone way up since I think the pandemic has begun. But I mean, as probably a lot of the listeners and you guys are aware, there's a really, I would say, tragic trend in the creator economy of gifting, right? Of seeding. That's where brands are not wanting to spend money with influencers, with creators, but they want to gift them something in exchange for content.
I see. Right.
And I think personally, that's the number one problem in the entire economy.
Oh, interesting.
Is like if you really wanted to help creators make money, you would help fight and get rid of that, because the brands are always going to control the money. They're always going to control the industry, no matter what platform launches. The majority of money is always going to be made by brands partnering some type of thing with the creator. Until we move past that, I think that's what's holding it back, in my opinion.
How much hand-holding does FamePick do with creators? I mean, you talk about there are those that have like maybe 5,000 people followers on Instagram, or 10,000 followers on Twitter, but like 1 million followers on TikTok, or so on and so forth. How much hand-holding in terms of helping them understand how to monetize themselves from a strategic standpoint do you get involved in, right? Or are you more like, we will help connect you from an agency standpoint, creator to here's these brands that are offering some sort of RFP or some sort of they want to reach out to this demographic, so we think you can fit into there. Would you help these creators and say, okay, I think this is what we think you should be creating. This is the type of ideas and stuff that you should be producing in terms of your work. Like, how intimate of a relationship are you getting with these creators in terms of, helping them to create some sort of something sustainable?
I would say it varies. I mean, the majority of our work is brand negotiating, right? Brand deal negotiating. And we really try to help them understand their audience. Meaning, like, one of our tools on the platform is just a simple kind of a questionnaire tool, which seems simple to make, right? People can use Google, or they can use Typeform. but a lot of the creators, they don't know that stuff. And so we have a simple tool where they can kind of quiz their audience, so they can really understand like demographics are one thing, right? Every platform can kind of see, or you can read your analytics, but answering questions on like, what was your favorite tweet of mine? What was your, where are you from? Where are you located? Or how much money do you make? Like, there's a lot of like real questions you can use as a creator to help build almost anything within your audience. So I would say those are the main two things we help. I wouldn't say we help with content creation unless it's for some type of partnership. We just leave that to them unless they ask us, right? They say, hey, what have you seen that's trending, or what new platform should I get on? Then we'll help. But I think the majority of our work is those kind of two elements there.
I saw and do you facilitate collabs as well between like multiple creators on the platform? And
especially if it involves a brand, or if a specific creator is trying to get in touch with another creator, we can maybe get a hold of their agent and make that happen.
How are you seeing splits working or evolving, I guess, as we move forward? Because some people are, like completely like splits are, collabs are the future, the creator space, et cetera. And I don't know if I quite believe that. I mean, I think they've always been there, and I think they'll be there as much as they've been there. Have you, are you seeing one of the articles we posted from Anna was actually about like sort of how they were trying to develop a better, fairer model for doing splits. And sometimes these sort of like, it's like in Founders with the whole like slicing the pie kind of thing. Obviously with creator content, it can be a lot more performative, and it can be also a lot more instrumented. So can you explain a little bit about how like splits or sort of like, or some of the things that you're seeing in that arena?
I mean, I've done, I don't know the amount anymore. I think I've done 2,000, maybe 2,500 brand deals in my life, some type of deal partnership show. I think I've done maybe 3 splits ever. So, I mean, I get it. There's a lot of companies that think that's the future. I think that's very, very YouTube heavy, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the main platform that splits revenue in essence. So outside of that, I would say splits are worth near zero. I don't think that's a feature of anything. I think on YouTube itself, that can get really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think creators are out there looking to do that.
I think there is
the collaborations kind of happen organically, right? They love to collaborate.
For sure. Yeah. I do think there's like the Jay-Z sort of like bringing up the new folks. There probably is a business model in there, like of someone being like kind of like king or queen maker kind of thing. I'm not sure how many people could pull it off though, honestly. Right. Maybe in medium-sized domains, like to large domains, but like the small, like a lot of creators succeed by being in niches. Right. And so, the whole pile is visible, right? Like in one shot.
Yeah. I think again, it's one of those tools aimed at like the top 0.5% of creators. Right. It's like, is Eric going to split with Jake Paul if he's on his next video? Like, yeah maybe. Right. But then it's like, what is that split? Or if it's, Jake Paul talking up his next protege.
Yeah.
Does Jake Paul get 70% of the money of the ad revenue? Like, I wouldn't even want to entertain what's fair, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's a really cool feature, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'm going to leave it as a feature. I don't think those are companies, in my opinion.
For sure.
What do you? Let's talk a little bit about the tech that you guys have with FamePick. How do you decide what tool or what tech you want to put out there, right? I mean, you have this link in bio version, and then you have different plans like for Linkfolio, which is the aforementioned tool. But what other, like, how do you know when you want to produce a tool or product for creators? And have that stand out, and like what other things do you have that is FamePick working to kind of really help to support those that are your client base?
So we just, Ken, to be honest, this is all through, I wouldn't say trial and error, but we've done a lot of work in the creator space. Like we've done I think 100 million in just campaigns alone. We used to do performance marketing behind the campaign, so we used to do whitelisting. And again, like I mentioned before, we used to pitch celebrities. And so our media kit tool, which is part of Linkfolio, was deranged from everyone kept sending us PDFs of their media kits, which was cool. But you guys know in social media, it's like if you're on TikTok, you can add 1 million fans in a weekend.
Yeah.
And so that PDF you sent the brand on Monday is now out of date, right? Because you went from 1 million to 2 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so we built that just out of necessity for us. We have I think one of the coolest kind of tools for pitching brands, which is almost like almost like the background you can see behind me, right? It's just a set of images with all the creators listed that we pitch a brand, and it has all their engagement rates and their price points and their follower count, so that brands don't have to go dig through Instagram. They don't have to click on 17 different links to see what the creators are and what they've done. And then, like, to be honest, with Linkfolio, we weren't trying to compete with Linktree ever, Beacons or any of those guys. We built it as a tool where you can showcase as a creator to a brand to make money. Now, obviously, a lot of our users ask for them to be able to add links and all that stuff, but it's really built for them to be like, hey, brand, hey, Nike, I want to work with Nike. Here's my Linkfolio, which we feel is a lot different than sending them your Instagram profile.
I see.
Your Instagram profile is a lot. It can be a lot more personal depending on, how big you are. And then obviously there's no demographics attached. They haven't seen, like, to find previous work on Instagram. I don't know if you guys have ever done that. It's like one of the hardest things in the world. You're scrolling through for like an hour, all these guys' posts. Like, hey, which brands have they worked with?
Yeah. So Linkfolio is going to be,
Yeah.
So Linkfolio is like your LinkedIn version of your LinkedIn.
Yeah, it's basically, it's your resume,
exactly the name
curated.
Where it came from. It's LinkedIn plus a portfolio, Linkfolio.
See
where it came from.
See how intuitive this is?
It's not. We didn't try to reinvent the wheel.
All right, so I have a hard question. Let's get to the juicy stuff here.
Give it to me.
So for everyone who doesn't know, Matt and I we share like a Slack, and we're like, I always joke that we're like the grumpy Muppets. Sitting like in the top, because we see these articles and then we just like riff on them and we go nuts.
Yeah.
What do you think about universal? What's it called? Creator basic income.
I mean, I think we have to launch that first as a society before we give it to creators.
That's exactly where I am it as well.
So, I mean, I say the same thing about a lot of stuff, right? It's like, I saw an article, I don't remember who wrote it, where like we're trying to change the name creator already. It's like, creator's been hot for like 6 months. Let's not change it yet, please.
Yeah.
Like, let's let the world understand that these guys can make a living as a creator before we want to go change the name again.
Well, there's an interesting thing, and I had the same sentiment as you that, sort of like, well, hey, we need that for like humanity. We don't need that for the creator class. But I pushed back actually in the Discord about this, because I said we're appropriating a term that has a meaning, right? And I was like, I've run 15 startups in my life. No one guaranteed me success, right? Like no one guaranteed me like that I was going to have permission to try to do this thing. And I guess like sometimes this commingling of the personal and the business part, and depending on where you see that line, right? Like, it can influence how people think about this stuff, right? Like I'm like, you don't deserve, from my point of view, you don't deserve a paycheck just because you're a creator, right? You compete in a marketplace of ideas for attention, just like everybody else, right? And if you learn and you figure out and you create something compelling, revenue comes to you, right? Because you've earned it through attention, right? The idea that we should horizontally, because you put the word creator in front of something, right? Just suddenly be guaranteed something doesn't really make sense to me. Now, what I've interpreted this as, and I just think the term, it's kind of like the defund the police, like a really bad term but for something that has some merit potentially to it, is that what I've understood at least is that it seems like what people want is the platforms to play fairer with the dollars that they're taking from the creator. And so I think like distributing those dollars, or maybe like, changing the split, hiring more creators into the organization, or putting them on payroll, that some of those things make sense to me, but not this other idea of like everyone just being deserved of sort of like a blank check.
I mean, I think we could probably talk about the splits. Greg, I know you and I have had the many conversations about that. We could probably talk about that for 5 hours. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's the first step. If you want to talk about Apple and their tax, right? Then you got to change everyone's splits.
Yeah. The 30%
especially,
tax on top of everything else, right?
Yeah, YouTube and Twitches are insane, right? 34, what are they? 45%, 55%.
Twitch is 50, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's like if you're saying what's fair, that's the first step.
Yeah. So in that vein or that light, I actually think yes, like a bill of rights for platforms that, employ creators to some degree, or what provide a platform to creators. I think there's a important conversation that we are trying to have still, right? And it's feeling its way out. Last week, I think you probably heard we were talking about sort of this emergent business model. Ken, do you want to speak to that a little bit about just how we were talking about like Twitter's new model with what were they with tickets and subs? I believe it was.
Oh yeah. Twitter has the super follows, and then I think it was like Instagram's like, look, all right, you're doing super follows, or you're doing, we're going to roll out with our exclusive rooms. And it's like, as we're talking about, it's like, how is anything that these startups are doing in the creator space, are they doing anything that's defensible? Because you look, it's like, oh, you can have one company announce one thing, right? It's like, oh, Clubhouse is announcing, free puppies for
we're still waiting on Clubhouse to announce something, right?
Yeah, something like that. But then it's like, oh, they can do something, and I guarantee you, probably like in a week later, or maybe an hour later, you're probably saying, oh, Twitter Spaces, hey, we're doing dogs and cats for followers. Like, wait, hold on, like what just happened? And it's like, and Greg, this is a very, it's like, it's fascinating you bring this up because I was wanted to ask Matt. It's like, I've ahead of the show, I was like seeing all these quotes from Matt in all these different articles, right? From 2019 from The Guardian, where there's a thing about like how Instagram was looking to hide up, likes or posts for influencers and so on and so forth. It's like, what's the problem with these platforms, right? And it's like these big tech platforms are like, look, we want creators to use us, to be on our platform and creative. And we're really only giving them exposure, right? It's like, hey, we'll hire you, we'll hire you, but we won't pay you. But your reach is compensation enough. Like, no, that's crap, right? Don't treat us like unpaid interns. So it only behooves these platforms to pay actual money when they want something. They're willing to open up their big fat wallets in order to shell out money when they want something. But when it's the creators who's like, hey, we're barely able to scrape by, and we're paying like this heavy tax to Twitch, to Apple, to Google, to Facebook / Instagram / and YouTube. These companies like, no, like this, it's the price you pay. This is business, So there's a weird dichotomy at play here. And Greg, to your point, it's like nobody's guaranteed. Creators, I agree. Creators shouldn't be guaranteed this UBI, this universal basic income. Obviously, again, society needs to come up with that, figure that stuff out first, and apply it to all. This is not a special class, but I think creators are essentially entrepreneurs, and what being an entrepreneur is like. That's what you are. You're going off and you're abandoning, you're bypassing a stable job, income if you're able to have one, in favor of saying, I want to go off and do this, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go and be a YouTube broadcaster full time. Nobody's paying me my bills. No one's paying my mortgage, right? So, that's the hustle. That's the fact you have to, scratch and claw and make your way, try and earn to earn a buck.
So have you guys tried to innovate any, Matt, here? Or?
I want to touch on Ken's point real quick. That's to me the kind of ironic part, right? Is you can't have it both ways. You can't be an entrepreneur and have a universal basic income, right? They're usually opposites, right? People used to become entrepreneurs because they didn't want to work for some type of big corporation, right? And most entrepreneurs knew that you might not make money, maybe at all, but at least they were prepared for the first couple of years. Like, hey, I'm going to try to start whatever I'm trying to start, and I know I'm not going to get paid. So it's kind of weird to say like, hey, creators are businesses, and on the other hand, or in the other article, you turn around and say, hell yeah, they need a basic income. It's like that's not That's not what
Right.
a business startup is, right? You have to be like, hey guys, I'm prepared not to make money for a while.
But it feels like we're trying to protect creators from being business people to some degree, right? Like we're like, no, you don't need to be responsible. You don't need to do some of these. And I look, I get it. Like not having that acumen, sort of like as you said, you can become a business overnight, literally in the creator space, like where suddenly you're like $0 to you blow up, and now there's like all these business concerns potentially to field and filter. I get that part, right? But to some degree, it feels like, to this Creator MBA article, it feels like we have to ladder you up to an appreciation of yourself as a business and as an entrepreneur. If you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, from what we have seen at FamePick, right? We've got 40,000 creators on the platform. We manage at 100-ish, 150. Not many of them want to be businesses. They want to be creators. Mm-hmm. They want to be. It's hard for me to say that. I don't know if they want to be treated as a business. They want to be treated as legitimate, right? They want to what the work they do. They want to be legitimate. I think that's a big difference between being a business. A lot of them, they don't have no clue how to pay taxes, how to even start an LLC or an S corp or C corp, right?
But what's the solution there then? Do you think? Like, how do we?
Well, they need help. They need guidance, right? Like, and I think that's where I'm not going to plug myself, but that's where creators need help. They need representation of some kind, whether that's a lawyer, whether that's an agent, whether that's a manager, because doing that stuff you have to have expertise to do it. And that's a different expertise than creating content.
It's like outsourced ops, like business ops, right? Like you just kind of need to plant it somewhere.
Well, and I get a little tired of people, claiming like, oh, look at Mr. Beast. It's like, yeah, Mr. Beast has 30 people, maybe 50 people working for him. Jake Paul's got 50 people working for him.
They're enterprises. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, they were businesses for years. And so we can't, like, oh, let's put them on a pedestal. Like everyone needs to be like them. Not everyone wants to be like them. And even so, like, we don't know unless you work with those guys how much of the business aspect they actually do. I personally don't know. I don't work with them, so I don't know. I wager it's not very much.
I find it so compelling because, like, as a founder, perpetual founder, I find the analogs so comparable, right? Like, startup life, et cetera. Like, I remember my first company, I didn't know jack shit either. And so I was in the same place. Like I made all the mistakes, did everything wrong. Right. Like, and you had to suffer your way through it. But I think about, yeah, sure. Like, wouldn't every technical founder love to just write code all day? But yeah, you still got to like eventually go talk to clients, and, you have to work with designers, and you have to do all these other things that you don't like doing. Right. But we don't tell those people, no, you don't have to do it. But what we do say is there are fractional resources that you can lean on. Sort of get to help you succeed, right? Like beyond sort of the short-term parts, but there is a vocabulary and a language and a level setting that's there. And I think that's the part we're in now, right? Like we're in that part where we're trying to get that we're trying to bridge that gap, not to convert them to businesses per se, but to get them the situational awareness, right? And the right context to start to help make decisions that can get them the growth and the scale that they want without encumbering them necessarily with all of the trappings of sort of being like a full-on business person.
Yeah, I think it goes back to we're legitimizing them in some way, right?
Yeah.
Before, like, creator, Greg, I think you mentioned it before, it was kind of like, not like forbidden word to use, but it wasn't like very legitimate. And now kind of with the creator economy boom the last 18 months, creators are viewed as a much more legitimate career. You always see those surveys and articles where like the kids want to be YouTubers when they grow up. So I think society's view on a creator has changed.
Well, and here's the thing. I think the reason this is important is that it helps you, right? So you know this, Matt, like you've seen this probably thousands of times over and over. The more someone as a creator and influencer can work and speak the language of their client, the better they do, right? Like, so like, it's not about giving in, it's just understanding, right? Like, it's like, always understand where your check comes from. It's not like you have to bend to their will. If you don't like it, don't do it, you leave, right? But if you understand what's motivating them, what they need, how they measure success, right? Like what their terms would be, et cetera, you learn over time to be smarter about it. like little by little, sometimes through mistakes and sometimes through success, right?
And if you don't want to, hire people, get people on your team that know how to do it.
For sure.
That doesn't hurt either. Just like you were saying, a technical co-founder, if he doesn't want to do the business aspects, hire a good CEO.
Yeah. I'm hoping we see more. I still own the domain. I got in this thing called Pop-Up Corp because I actually thought, when you follow the classic creator journey, what do? You go from making some like stickers, right? To you got a little swag. Then you're like, cool, I'm going to do, I'm going to be at this con or that con, right? And then now you're doing a little storefront, right? So I was like pop-ups. I was like, we should just do a whole company just like Gust, right? Like just incorporating creators for them, right?
I've talked with Steven from the Discord group, Music Creation, and he's run kind of, I don't know if he's running through that idea now, but he's brought that up many times. And
I think it's so necessary.
I fully support that. You need legal Zoom for creators.
Yeah, because I used Gust for my last company or a couple of startups ago, or my consulting company, and it was great because it did give you a guided checklist, and honestly, if you've never seen it before, it could probably still feel daunting, right? A little bit, but what was interesting was still the ability to you need to do this, and or I use Stripe Atlas to incorporate Zealous, right? And it's hey, you need to file this paper, so print it out and sign it, and just mail it in so that you don't get in trouble later, right? That level of stuff, and if you want to hire an assistant, we should just provide someone to help you. Cool, call me up, spend an hour, we do it together, right? And I'll get your signatures where you need it. But I think we need more of these bridges, right? Because I don't think that fully hiding you from these responsibilities is good for you. But I also don't think that encumbering is particularly valuable either.
And I also don't think we should call them straight businesses yet either. If you work with a team of a couple people, I wouldn't say that's a business, because the big difference I see between a startup and a creator that's trying to be a business or a startup is they almost build in public, right? If a creator messes up, especially, you guys can see it the last 12 months, right? Dobrik, Jake Paul, James Charles, right? When they kind of mess up, so to speak, it's almost their entire company's over. But Greg, as you mentioned, if you messed up and filed the wrong tax form, could be a big screw up. You might owe thousands.
Yeah.
But you don't get canceled, so to speak, right?
Right.
So I think there's a big difference between that, and I think that's where we almost need to give them a little slack. Or if we are going to consider them businesses, then when they do screw up, we can't demonetize them immediately. It's if you messed up your taxes, you're not gonna, your company's not over. You get a slap on the wrist and you kind of move on.
Yeah.
Now I know we're talking about two different things here, but I think it's kind of the same.
No, they're related. They're commingled. This is going to be our first co-thread that we do, because we need to. I think there's something missing here, where creators are trying to understand where they are. Like to your point about legitimacy, right? And some of it is formality, and then some of it is legitimacy, right? And so formality tends to be more required as you get larger, the deals get bigger, right, et cetera, right? There tends to be more complexity. But the legitimacy is the simple things, like having a media kit, right? Having a URL that's not rainbows and stuff. It's great that that's your personality, but when a business person is coming to make some decisions, they want to view you in that context, but they also want kind of the white room version, the green room sort of version of it, so they can just analyze it and understand it quickly, right? Not hunt and peck, right? So I think that there is something interesting here about just trying to help people understand these sort of evolutionary phases, right? And I don't think it's purely linear, right? Because unfortunately, as we said, creators can go from here to here in 5 minutes, but all the successes are teams. Right? There are no solo people.
Not many. We're talking, you can count them on one hand.
I can't even. Yes, they're either way. There's still small teams, right? Maybe they're not even full time. It's a network of people. But everyone's got editors now, and they've got managers and social media people, and people like PA.
Or they have a lawyer of some kind, right?
You got a lawyer, hopefully. My old lawyer is one of the leading lawyers, for creators and influencers. His firm, and he's done a ton of work in that space. And he's super expensive, so I don't highly recommend going to him first. But it's interesting. Like there's this ecosystem, and I think we only talk about the tech, but there's all these other soft skills and pieces that are really important and missing still from the space.
Yeah, on that point, Greg, I would love to see more of the creator economy focus on the average creator. A lot of the tools just get so pinned and aimed at Jake Paul and Dobrik and all those guys. It's like, yeah, of course that tool is going to work for them if they have 50 million fans or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, you see Jake Paul's merchandise line sell, I don't know what it was, 50, 60, 70 million dollars. It's like, yeah, because the guy's on like, every YouTube video there is. Right. I mean, now he's a full-fledged boxer on Showtime. I mean, it's,
by the way, boxing apparently pays like a ton of money. So
of course.
Oh yeah, you don't even, it's insane.
I'm a big fan of like Half-Thor, like the Mountain and Strongman in general, and so the two of them are going to be fighting in September, and they're going to make like 10x what they would make in a year for one fight. So
because it's like you count for how much your medical needs will be after getting knocked in the head so many times, right? I mean, and it's like, could you continue living a normal life afterwards, and would you be fairly compensated as a result of that, right? I mean,
so after the cohort-based classes is boxing, right, on the evolution scale.
Boxing might be number one now, to be honest. I feel like everyone's starting to box.
Is the top of the pyramid.
I'm going to be it's called Box TV, and basically it's going to be, I'm going to just have a GoPro on my head and my chest, and I'm just going to be boxing. And you can pay to watch that. It'll be available in VR on Oculus.
How much is it going to cost to have you punch yourself in the head?
That's a premium version. That'll cost you an additional $10.
Oh, so there we go.
A month.
$10 per punch.
See,
let's sign up.
Matt, I'm going to be calling you later so we're going to
start gifting those subs to people.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short. We're going to go per punch here.
Well, considering we don't have like, hopefully, the Affordable Care Act will still be around for a while. That I'll be able to, keep my.
Watching thought that was particularly funny there.
Hey, if that's down, I'm gonna launch a Patreon right now.
If you would pay to see Ken, a subscription service for Ken to box and maybe occasionally punch himself in the head, just leave us a comment wherever you're watching. We'd love to know.
Give me Ken training videos.
Yeah.
We don't know if Ken can throw a punch yet, Ken.
Hey, I'm gonna go big on TikTok, because instead of like a dance tutorial, it's like I'm gonna launch tutorials on how you can hit yourself in the head, right?
Actually, this should just be your TikTok thing, right? Like just walking around and getting punched in the head by people. Actually, you don't live in San Francisco. You could have gotten the content for free. You just have to walk around.
Oh, wow. I live in Washington, so there's plenty of cities I can do that, or I could just go down to, I could just go do like how they have like man on the street type of interviews on like Jay Leno or Kimmel or whatever. Like you could just do that. I could just go to New York. It's like, but instead of like, I could go like accost random people, but instead of them punching, like I could just fake it and have myself punch myself in the head. Wait, hold on. Where did we?
I like that.
See, did we just launch a? Am I now a business? Did I just launch a creator business?
You're officially a business now.
Yes.
Okay.
I just owe like Google and YouTube like $50.
We had such a good conversation with Matt that we forgot to get to the audience. So what we're going to do today is we're going to save it for the after show if you can make it. Matt, you haven't been in the New Zealous, have you?
No, I have not.
Well, thank you everybody for joining us today, by the way. We are about to kick off Creative After Dark. We're going to switch over to Zealous to do this. We don't record this part. It's kind of off the record. Not really, everything's public these days. But feel free to head over to created.show/live. It's also linked on the homepage. You'll see Creative After Dark. If you click that little tile, it'll take you into the next phase of the show. It is an interactive video experience, so you are welcome to come and join us on stage, just like you might in Clubhouse. But it gives you the opportunity to come, ask questions, be part of the story, not just watch it or listen to it. So we do look forward to having you join us over there. Once again, Ken, did you share a link out to it? But yeah, head over to created.show/live if you want to join the show for the after show. And before we go, let's just wrap up with what's coming up next. Matt, thank you so much for being here with us. It's been a pleasure. Lots of great conversations and thought starters for everyone out there. Next week we have Twitch Phenom Gaming. She does like card, or I forgot what they call the kind of game she plays, but Nicolina Moon. I had the pleasure of meeting her on Jeff Pulver's Creator Economy show. She has a rally coin as well. We have Fernando from Superfans coming up the week after that. We got Steven and Antonio from the Black Creator Crew on July 28th. August 4th, we'll be off. And then August 11th, make sure you join us. You can sign up an RSVP on the Created.show right now.
This is going to
Jim
be a good one.
Louderback
Jim.
will be joining us to talk about VidCon. If you don't know and you haven't been, then you tune in to find out about one of the best creator events that happens.
If you haven't been, you guys, this one's good.
We're going.
Yeah,
actually, we're gonna launch Ken's punch in the head thing.
Let's do it.
Oh, we're gonna do. It's all collabs. It's all collabs, right? It's like I'm just gonna go around and do collabs. It'd be great.
But beyond August 11th, we are always looking for more guests. So if you head over to createdeconomy.com, there's a link up there if you want to would like to speak on the show. We have a form, fill it out. We'd love to have you. We're looking always for great founders, creators, and of course, investors and anyone else from the ecosystem that can join us. So we'll see you in a few minutes over at created.show/live. I'm going to switch over there right now. And that's it. Do we have anything else? I think that's it. Thank you for joining us this week for the Creator Economy. We'll be back next week on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Mountain Time. We'll see you soon for the after party. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.